Good morning, all. It is the 27th of June, 2025. Hope this day finds you well. Just like yesterday, I've got the morning to play with my project car here. So I'm going to attempt to install the transmission, at least the first part of it, get it up to the engine and get it bolted to the engine and get the rear cross member installed and then see what time I have left after that. I was able to figure out how to get the transmission up on the transmission jack by myself last night. It occurred to me that all I really needed to do was use my little floor jack stands and do one end at a time, and that worked out perfectly. I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Actually, I did a separate little clip. This, there we go. Turn this around and open the cover. There we go. So yeah, I had the jack stands on both ends, and I still have one on the rear end just to keep it stable until I put the chain on it. But at least it's up on the jack. So now I just need to slide it into the car and get started on putting that baby back in. All right, hopefully this thing is picking up. If I speak loud enough, I don't have my earbuds or anything with me. Just wanted to show real quick, since my roommate's schedule doesn't really align with mine very well. It occurred to me I could probably just support the transmission on jack stands, so that's what I'm trying to do right now. I think there's enough room between those jack stands to slide that under. I hope so anyway, because that'll make it a lot easier to get that down on the transmission jack. All right, I'm hoping my voice is picked up well enough with no microphones or anything. Just wanted to demonstrate installing the torque converter. Also wanted to point out this input shaft comes out, and it fell out when I was manipulating the transmission earlier, trying to get it on the jack. It's a little cantankerous to get it all the way in, but it's got to be seated all the way like you see it here. I'm not going to pull it back out now to demonstrate, since it's kind of tricky to get it back in. Now here's my replacement torque converter right here on the ground. Well, I know you can only see the edge of it, but you'll see more of it in a second. I'm just going to dip my finger into some fresh new transmission fluid and coat the shaft here liberally so that when it slides in, it doesn't damage the seal in the front pump there. Set that aside. And I've wiped everything out. It's nice and clean. It's a rebuilt unit here, so this has to go on a certain way too. It's got a fully seat, so you have to rotate it until it goes in all the way. So I'm just going to rotate it here until I can feel it going in. There. That's one part of it. There we go. I think that's fully seated. Yeah, if you can't get your fingers behind it anymore, then you're fully seated. So that's all it takes to do that. Notice there's a drain plug on these too. You can actually drain them if you need to for maintenance. And then I just need to take these old plastic covers off before I take it over to the engine to start trying to mate it up. And I wanted to point out a couple of other things too. Let me get this off. Let's see here. You don't need to see me. There we go. Okay. Other things I've done in preparation, I've moved the mounts back on here from the old transmission, the cross member and all that, and that's reversible, because I don't remember which way I had this facing, because I took it away and wiped it down, cleaned it off. But it's a mirror image, so I don't think it matters which way it goes on. Also, I wrapped up the line here that I'm not going to use for the reverse switch. I talked about that yesterday. I just taped off the end, used a zip tie to attach it to that unused lug there, whatever you want to call it. So it's kind of tucked out of the way. I got my chain securely fastened. I used a little piece of wood there to make sure the chain stays tight and doesn't fall out of that little thing down there, so it won't fall off. So let's see, I think that's it. I pulled this shaft out yesterday and looked inside. Of course, it's nice and clean because that was part of the rebuild that Brian did, so I don't need to worry about that. I actually have an extra input shaft now with good bearings inside of it for a spare. And I had to remember to take these caps off too. And that can wait till I'm actually ready to install the dipstick too. The last thing I think I need to do, I need to reinstall that steel tube there for the vacuum and for the modulator valve. I think that's all I wanted to document right now. So we're just about ready to slide it into the car. Alright, I'm glad I took the time to do this. I wanted to make sure that my nuts would easily go on the studs here that connect the torque converter to the flywheel. Glad I checked, because it turned out the end of one of these studs was damaged, the one you're looking at here. It's not real evident here, and I've kind of cleaned it up. You can see a little bit of it there. It's not real obvious, but the last thing I wanted was to have trouble, you know, when I'm underneath the car trying to mount this thing up. So what I did is I just took a nut here and just went back and forth, kind of, you know, recut the threads. I mean, I've got a tap and die set, but I don't know that I could have really worked it this way, because you really need to work from the other end out for that to work properly. So with just the nut, I was able to, you know, just continually go back and forth. And now it goes on. It's still kind of tight, but at least it goes on. And since I may have damaged that nut a little bit, forcing it to cut the threads, I marked it with a little bit of white correction fluid on both the nut and the studs, so when I'm underneath, I want that to match up. The other three were fine. They didn't have any trouble there, but one of those little detail things that I almost forgot about, but glad I checked it out. Alright, just like with yesterday, I raised it up a little bit with the floor jack, pulled that jack stand out. It gave me the room here in the corner with the wheel well, slide it back in, so it's now in position. Of course, I lowered it back down the jack stand, so we're safe again. So now it's positioned and ready for me to start raising it. So I'm going to work on that, get it up in position as best I can, and see how close we can get. Morning, folks. It's Sunday morning, the 29th of June. As you can probably surmise, I'm underneath my car. I just relearned another lesson. You know, I've replaced these C6 transmissions about 4 or 5 times in my life now, and you'd think I would remember all the little details you gotta know. Well, I'd forgotten one this time. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Well, I really can't show you yet, but I will. We're looking at the flex plate, and by the way, my son and I had a discussion about that. That's actually a flex plate, not a flywheel. Flywheel's for manual transmission, so my mistake on that before. But anyway, my error today was that I pointed out when the transmission was still out, I pointed out that it had a drain plug for you know, maintenance purposes to drain the torque converter. Well, that drain plug sticks out, and there's a hole in the flex plate where that drain plug pokes out. Well, I forgot about that, so I didn't line it up properly, and I've been fighting and trying to get this transmission mated up, and it finally occurred to me that's what I hadn't done. I didn't line up the drain plug with the hole that's meant for it in the flex plate. So I'm in the process of just using a small screwdriver to slowly rotate the engine. Works pretty well. It's a little slow, a little tedious, but it does work, because I can't get to the flywheel or the vibration damper up front. So anyway, I'm working on getting back to the last nut that I had started. I got 2 of them started before it dawned on me that this wasn't right. So anyway, I'm going to take that last nut off. You can see it coming into view there, and then I'm going to have to pull the transmission back an inch or 2, and then rotate the torque converter so that the hole will line up properly with the flex plate. Then I think we'll have an easier time of mating this together. Alright, so I discovered a new problem. I completely unanticipated this one. Once I figured out that I needed to get the drain holes lined up properly with the flex plate on the engine, well, that wasn't the end of my problems, unfortunately. After I figured that part out, I kept trying to get the transmission up to the engine, and I would get close, but it kept pivoting like it was still something in the way. Well, turns out there is something in the way. That center hub, that center part on the torque converter is sticking out too far as compared to the old one, which is right here. And of course, that's not something I checked. I just, you know, assumed naively that, you know, that Advance All or AutoZone, I think it was, would just send me the right part. Well, it fits in the transmission, and it probably is designed for a C6, but it sure doesn't mount up to a 462, because that center hub there is sticking out too far. So I've decided I'm just going to reuse the old torque converter. I'm just not going to worry about it. And I don't know, I'm pretty sure there's nothing wrong with the torque converter, just a gut feeling. So I'm just going to go ahead and just pull that one out, put this one back in, and continue on, because this has taken so much time. And I sure wish I had known that when I first got that torque converter, but that was bad on me. But maybe you guys can watch out for something like that in your future. All right, As you can see, the transmission is now in place. This is only about half hour, 45 minutes after the last video I did when I discovered I had the wrong torque converter. So it's amazing how quickly it went back together once I had the right parts and pieces. So got it secured, the transmission jack is gone, and now it's just a matter of hooking everything back up, which takes forever. So I'm gonna take a lunch break. All right, I am wrapping up the day. I've worked all day on this baby, and I've made a lot of progress. I'm just about ready to lower the car back on the ground. Covered in grease from head to toe, and I'm fine with that. I'll take a shower outside of my outdoor shower before I go in. But I wanted to show you underneath before I drop the car what I got going on under here. Of course, the drive shaft is now reinstalled. Took the opportunity to grease the fittings on the U-joints. They each took 4 squirts of grease, so I'm glad I took care of that. Everything is secure underneath here now. I got the vacuum connection done there for the modulator valve. Speedometer cables installed. All the cross members are installed. The dipstick tube was the last thing I just installed. The cooler lines I installed earlier, they went on easier than I thought they would, which was nice. Starters installed. I used that again to tighten up the nuts on the torque converter. That little cover plate is back on the front. Let me see if I can move up a little bit here. There we go. That plate right there is back in place. All the linkage is in place now. Everything works, as far as I know. So it's all clean. Everything is done underneath the car. So I don't think I have to work tomorrow. So my plan is to finish this up tomorrow. There are just a couple things to do on top before I can actually try and start it and drive it. Obviously I got to lower it to the ground, so I'll do that in the morning. I got to remove that cross member there, which isn't needed anymore. And then I'll have to reattach the intake manifold bolts or nuts that I used to secure this and retorque them and all that. And then of course fill the transmission up with fluid. And that's pretty much it. So I'm just about done with this project now. I'm really excited. Maybe tomorrow I'll be able to take her for a test drive. So I'm going to wrap this up for the day, and we'll see how tomorrow goes.